Hey everyone, welcome to Quantum Diecast Race of Champions. We have the 8 victors of the previous weeks that are going to go head to head tonight to figure out who's the top dog in the Quantum Diecast Racing Series. The contestants are equally split between fantasy and licensed models. We have Loop Coupe, the Dodge Van, Lethal Diesel, the Volkswagen Käfer Racer, Sandburner, Lotus Sport Elise, 5 Alarm, and the Renault Sport RS. The first contestants to go head-to-head are 5 Alarm and the Renault Sport RS. An easy first race victory for the Renault Sport RS. The Renault got out of the gate like a bullet and had some trouble in turn 1, but this did not matter because it's considerably faster than 5 Alarm. In race 2, Renault got out ahead and through turn 1 was in the lead, but 5 Alarm battled back, trying to find a lane to pick to pass the Renault. 5 Alarm tried hard to keep up and kept it close at the finish. Sandburner vs. the Lotus Sport Elise is the second matchup for today. The Lotus edged the Sandburner out of the gate and through turn 1, but had some trouble in turn 2 and the final straightaway where it crashed against the rail, giving the Sandburner a chance to catch up. The Lotus edged the Sandburner out of the gate and took the lead in turn 1. The Sandburner then had trouble on the downhill, bouncing off the walls, which made this an easy victory for the Lotus. Our next matchup is the Volkswagen Käfer Racer versus Lethal Diesel. The Käfer Racer slid into the lead in turn 1 and never looked back as it easily took the victory from Lethal Diesel. Lethal Diesel took the lead from the Käfer Racer in turn 1. Käfer Racer made some contact and lost momentum, and the Lethal Diesel was able to cruise to the finish. We now have an even match going into race 3. Käfer Racer edged Lethal Diesel at the gate and took the lead in turn 1. There was some contact made which slowed down the Lethal Diesel, and the Käfer Racer cruised on to the victory and will move on to the second round. The final matchup of round 1 has last week's winner, the Dodge Van, going up against the first week's winner, the Loop Coupe. Let's see who's going to move on to round 2. anticlimactic start to this matchup as both cars get into each other and come to a stop on the back straightaway. The Loop Coupe took the lead out of the gate, but the Dodge van came back with the inside line and took the lead on turn 1. They battled back and forth with the van changing lanes to keep the victory from the Loop Coupe. The Loop Coupe took the lead from the start, but then went sideways to block the Dodge van. The Dodge van got held up, and the Loop Coupe sailed on to victory, but had some trouble with the finish line gate. Looks like we're down to one race to see who moves on to round 2. Holy cow, the van's off the track! Both drivers weren't going to let victory slip through their hands. The Loop Coupe kept its position and the Dodge van was forced over the rail and off the track. I heard he's okay. With the van off the track, the Loop Coupe was able to cruise to victory and will move on to round 2. After its thrilling victory in round 1, the Loop Coupe will see if it can do the same to the Renault Sport RS. The Loop Coupe's off the track. It was a close race between both cars until the Loop Coupe went hard into the high wall of turn 2, ricocheted off the track and onto the floor. The Renault took the victory and the Loop Coupe driver is okay. The Renault got the edge of the gate. The Loop Coupe took the lead at turn 1. The Renault got into the back of the Loop Coupe and spun it around and lost momentum and ended up sliding down the downhill sideways in an easy victory for the Loop Coupe. There was contact from both vehicles after turn 1. The Renault went sideways and came to a dead stop, and there's no way the Loop Coupe was getting by. We'll redo race 3. Awesome job by the Renault this time, avoiding contact in turn 1. The Loop Coupe lost momentum coming out of that turn hard into the rail and never could catch up to the Renault to cruise to victory. More contact from both these cars in turn 1. The Loop Coupe got spun around again and finished the race backwards with a small margin of victory over the Renault. With both cars knotted up at 2 races apiece, it'll come down to one final race to see who moves on to the final. Some nifty driving by the Renault, once again avoiding contact after turn 1. The Loop Coupe did what it could to stay close, but ended up losing out. The Renault will move on to the finals. The final matchup of round 2 is the Volkswagen Käfer Racer versus the Lotus Sport Elise. The Lotus jumped out to an early lead, got about 3 car lengths, and then on the downhill went sideways where it eventually spun around. This made it a closer race than it should have been, but it still got the victory. The Lotus got into the back of the Käfer after turn 1, which slowed it down tremendously, and the Käfer was able to roll on for the win. We're knotted up at 1 apiece. The Lotus shot out to an early lead, but slid after turn 1 and went sideways after turn 3. This allowed the Volkswagen to keep it close, although it still got the victory. This was a racing version of a 90s dance club with a lot of bumping and grinding going on. The Volkswagen was able to slow the Lotus enough to get out in front and take the lead and finish with the victory. The Lotus decided not to take any chances with its deciding race 5 and led from start to finish. It will move on to the finals to face the Renault. I feel like we've had some exciting racing so far, and I'm looking forward to see what happens in the finals between these 2 cars, the Lotus Sport Elise and the Renault Sport RS. Only one can be the Quantum Diecast Race of Champions champion. In race 1, the Renault got out to the lead, and the Elise got into the back of them and spun the Renault around, and later spun itself around on the downhill, with the Renault taking the first race. Very exciting race, too, with some nifty driving by the Renault that passes the Lotus on the back stretch and takes the victory. Probably some of the best driving we've seen in the tournament. The Renault slides to a 3-0 lead against the Lotus, avoiding the smash after turn 1 and cruising to the win. The Lotus is going to have to start racing if it doesn't want to get eliminated in 4 races. The Lotus finally found itself in the lead in this final series and did what it could to block the Renault down the downhill, protect that victory. Let's see if it's the start of a comeback. The Renault was determined to win this race and the championship. Even being spun around couldn't stop it from winning this race. A good try by the Lotus, but it's just going to come up too short. Here's your Quantum Diecast Race of Champions champion, the Renault Sport RS. And if you happen to make it this far in the video, we humbly thank you very much for watching. We appreciate each and every one of you. And if you're watching and haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. We'd love to have you aboard. Thanks again, Mad Dog out.